It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
And welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Breakfast as we talk property news every day, available to you just after 6 a.m. And we do that 7 days a week, as heard on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Amazon. Into a Tuesday morning, got to like that, dispensed with Monday, July the 23rd today. Here's an interesting piece of information. Metro Millennials. Now, they're migrating to country and coastal areas at a rate of 20% above pre-pandemic levels. That's according to the Regional Australia Institute. The Sunshine Coast, hardly surprising. It tops the list for internal migration, with Sydney experiencing the most significant outflow. That really does paint the picture. Over the past year, 24% more people have moved from cities to regional areas than vice versa, with the first quarter of this year seeing the fifth highest rate in 6 years. The Gold Coast has the percentage of 9.1%, Geelong 6.3%, followed by the Sunshine Coast in popularity, 6.3%. Millennials are leading this trend, seeking affordability and lifestyle changes, and the Regional Movers Index shows millennials from Sydney are moving to the Gold Coast, Wollongong and Newcastle. Affordability and the desire for a better lifestyle is what is driving the shift. But another one of these areas is Toowoomba in Queensland. And we are going to catch up right now with Matthew Hawkins. He is the principal of NGU Real Estate. He is born and bred there. And Matthew, welcome to the Real Estate Breakfast this morning. Welcome to you.
Good morning, mate. Thank you.
So you know all there is to know when it comes to your local real estate market.
I'd like to think so. I'd like to think I know a fair bit about Toowoomba, the Garden City as it's called.
Yeah, I was just having a look. Of course, Darling Downs region of southern Queensland, known for Cobb & Co Museum. Have to say, never been, but apparently there's horse-drawn carriages to have a bit of a gink at, among other things.
Well, yeah, there is. Funnily enough, especially from a lot of people outside of the Toowoomba region who seem to think that we still do drive horse and carriages down the street. They are just in the museum.
Good to hear. And your population, of course, is expanding all the time, up over the 160,000 plus.
Yeah, I believe so. It's been crazy, the growth over the last, probably, since that COVID pandemic, the amount of people that we're getting moving to the city, and more so probably not as many leaving. That's always been a battle for Toowoomba, is keeping your younger crowd, obviously, when they finish school and, want to look at universities and professionals and all that sort of stuff. We're not losing them anymore. They're sticking around.
That article, very interesting, because it's been happening for a while now, people moving out of the cities into regional areas like yourself. Of course, it is all about the dollars and cents. If you look at the data from CoreLogic, it is telling us that properties are selling in Toowoomba for between $400,000 and $600,000. I guess at the lower end, those are probably units. They're saying that the median house price for a three-bedder is around that $500K, but probably you don't get that much for $500K these days.
No, you wouldn't. I think those days are probably nearly gone for a house anyway. It's probably shifted to six. You can get some of your older ones, possibly built in the 80s, like a small brick 3-bedroom thing, around that sort of, I guess, high fives to 600. But yeah, certainly the unit market has picked up. And again, that probably comes back to the affordability. It's got a roof and walls and it's in a good spot. So it ticks a few boxes.
What about in terms of development? Have the developers been proactive in the last 5 years?
Yeah, certainly. We've got a couple of big developers. We have Clive Berghofer, who a lot of people might know. He's developed the Cancer Institute down in Brisbane. And we've also got the Wagner family. Now, they've just built our airport here. It's the first privately built and privately owned airport in the country. So between those two, obviously money is a huge factor, which helps, but they're pumping a lot back into the Toowoomba region. So they're our two significant developers. And then now we're starting to get a lot of southern interest in developing as well. But it's more so infrastructure. We've got a brand new hospital. We've obviously got the airport that I just mentioned. The things are happening here, dare I say it, we're turning into a small city. And, that's probably the appeal. Because on that list that you mentioned before, the only thing we can't compete with, unfortunately, is we don't have a beach. This is where we've got to try and offer everything that those cities can, just without the beach aspect.
And just coming back to Brisbane, I mean, how many of these first home buyers are you seeing, or perhaps downsizers that look at it rather favourably?
Yeah, certainly plenty. There's also in the works at the moment a high-speed rail that's going to link the Toowoomba CBD to Roma Street, the Brisbane CBD. Now, that hasn't been constructed yet. It's just about to get the big green tick. So there has been a bit of word about that, and that's also drawn a lot of people to come to Toowoomba as well. Ipswich is a city just outside of Brisbane where it's always experienced that overflow from Brisbane who can't afford it, or it's an affordability-based thing. Well, now we're starting to get it in Toowoomba. We're about an hour and a half from the Brisbane CBD, Toowoomba. A lot of people, especially your downsizers, an affordability-based thing as well, they are coming to Toowoomba. I know plenty of people that do that trip between Toowoomba and Brisbane every day for work. And now that's obviously a bit of a stretch, an hour and a half. Well, it is for Toowoomba anyway. I know if you're in Sydney, it's not abnormal to spend an hour and a half in a car, but that's where we're sitting. We're close enough to these big city centres.
All right, so we are talking to Toowoomba on our Tuesday morning. We'll come back to Matthew in just a moment and find out a little bit more about investment and investors.
Gain insights with exclusive conversations from real estate professionals about buying, selling and investing across Australia.
Well, it was all happening yesterday, wasn't it? In America, Joe Biden deciding to step down. Kamala Harris, she is now in the hot seat. And Trump and his team say that they've been preparing for this precise scenario. And Trump believes that Harris is going to be a lot easier to beat. Well, my prediction is that women are going to make the difference for the Democrats winning this time round in November due to all of the women's rights being taken away around reproductive rights. Kamala is certainly going to be able to articulate that a whole lot better than Joe Biden is capable of. So the campaign race just got a whole lot harder for Trump, I would say. But let's reconvene back in November and see what the outcome of that is. But yes, watch the women votes. I think they're going to make the difference.
As we approach 1,000 episodes, a big thanks to all of our guests for their insightful knowledge, trends and forecasts. We look forward to another 1,000 episodes together.
And we are talking with Matthew Hawkins today, the principal from NGU Real Estate there in Toowoomba, where it is going off. Plenty of people leaving the cities and going to the likes of Toowoomba because they are attracted by not only the price point, but also, dare I say, the infrastructure that Matthew was just talking about. And Matthew, I just want to pick up on the comment that you made about the airport. You got the hospital, you got the rail, which is yet to be connected through to Brisbane, which is going to be a massive thing. The one thing that people never miss a beat on when it comes to these sorts of infrastructural spends are investors. And you were saying to me just during the break that plenty of investors are coming out of Sydney, and a lot of them represented by buyers' agents.
Yes, yeah, that's correct. A lot of that, obviously, the buyers agents especially, and investors likewise do their homework. They would know certainly about the infrastructure that's either happened or upcoming here in Toowoomba. One of the biggest driving factors is simply the yield that you're still able to get between 5 and 6% return for your money on an investment home here in Toowoomba. You're still getting capital growth within a smaller period. Within 12 months, you're getting a good chunk of capital growth as well. So it's the best of both worlds at the moment.
Now, tell us a little bit about the migration, because they're coming from the Gold Coast, they're coming from Brisbane, I guess maybe from the Sunshine Coast as well, even further afield when you look at Roma.
Yeah, certainly. Well, look, the Roma ones and that Western Queensland, I guess, it's probably they tell a bit of a different tale. What we've found, and this migration has been around for decades and decades, is where some of your Western property owners, your farmers, all that sort of stuff, who do sell a property for some, fairly extreme price between 20 and 30 million. Toowoomba seems to be as far east as they want to go. So they'll come to Toowoomba. It's got all your medical facilities, all your infrastructure in regards to social and that sort of aspect. However, it's not, you're missing the traffic, I guess, and what you get in Brisbane. So look, when they seem to come our way, they're coming with a pocket full of cash, and they're the ones that are really driving that prestige property market. We just had our highest sale figure here in Toowoomba at 4.91 million for a residential home. It was beautiful, don't get me wrong, but yeah, it was 4.91 million. We've had a couple in the 4.5 millions as well. That's that Western migration coming east. What we've experienced since COVID is the eastern side of Australia coming west to us. Now, they're always selling in a buoyant market. That's no secret that the Gold Coast and Brisbane is going absolutely gangbusters. So when they arrive in Toowoomba, everything looks great value, and they seem to be paying good money for our properties up here.
Yeah, well, that was my next question, because if I have a look at the stats, just 7% of the properties in Toowoomba have sold for over $1 million, but the number of sales in this category has been growing. And to your point, that is probably the reason. And the city's prestige market has been outperforming the average of late.
Yeah, certainly agreed. People are starting to build good homes. I guess we had a ceiling, I call it anyway, where, you didn't want to overcapitalise, even in our better suburbs. Well, that ceiling's just been raised a hell of a lot, with a lot of homes now selling upwards of 3, 4, and we haven't yet cracked a 5. But basically, there's no fear in being able to build or construct a luxurious home. When people are building these homes, they're planning to live in them. They're not looking at doing investment stock or anything, obviously, if you spend $1 million. But at some point, you're going to sell that property. Well, now people don't have the fear of being stuck with a multi-million-dollar home without being able to sell it.
Also, I was surprised to see that the owner-occupier is sitting at 37%, renters at 63%. I just wonder whether people that have been squeezed out of the likes of the rental market in Brisbane, that have looked at you guys and thought, yeah, cheaper rent, I'm moving there.
Yeah, certainly. I'd agree with that. This, the interest rate pressure and obviously inflation and all that sort of stuff, it's probably had an adverse effect in Toowoomba. We've always found Toowoomba residents very conservative, so that you won't find too many people, and obviously this goes back to your house prices, but there won't be too many people with $1 million mortgage, for example. So when the interest rates have risen, it just hasn't hit us as hard here as it has in likes of Brisbane, Gold Coast, Sydney, Melbourne especially. That interest rate pressure and inflation pressure obviously goes down to tenants, all that sort of stuff, and they need to get out of that, that pressure that's building in the bigger cities. And yeah, they come to Toowoomba and they can just relieve that pressure on their family, but still have everything that they do in the big cities.
All right. Well, we'll leave it there. Great to catch up with you this morning, Matthew. Find out a little bit about the real estate, what is happening in Toowoomba. Enjoy your Tuesday, and thanks for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast this morning.
No, thanks, mate. Love listening to the podcast. Thank you.
Don't navigate the real estate market alone. Let us help guide you in the world of real estate every day. Make better informed decisions with the latest news and insights.
Is Australia seen as a bit of a soft country for scammers?
Absolutely it is. So we're in almost daily contact with informants, but when it comes to German and American victims, they're often told by their hierarchy that we're not to touch these guys because their police forces will come after us. But they know that the Australian authorities won't go after them, so that's why Australia is seen as an easy target.
You would no doubt like to see more real estate companies becoming more involved with the type of service that you are offering.
Correct. That's a direction that we're heading in. Traditionally, we haven't dealt with real estate a great deal. What we're trying to do as a company is to provide more opportunity for real estate to be proactive in avoiding these types of scams or compromise of their systems.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.